Hi, this is a video to help you with your APA citations. For this course, we are only using APA, which stands for American Psychological Association, for our citations in text and for our references at the end of the projects. Please do not take space to have a title page. APA also suggests you have a running heading. I don't care if you do that or not. Again, it just takes up space. So if all of the students who are involved in the group project just list all of the names on the first page and then just start your project, that will be just fine. So let's take a look in Canvas. This is in the course resources module, and it tells you right here what pages and sections to pay attention to in the APA guide. Now I have the entire rules for writer's book here if you need MLA for another course or if you want to look up some more information about writing style. But this is the APA section only, and that's the section you'll need for this course. Have a practice exercise and then the answers to the exercise, and then you'll need to take a quiz. So let's take a look at the APA guide. I've bookmarked it because I have a PDF reader that allows me to highlight and bookmark, so I've done so. So over on this screen on the left, I have some information. I read a book entitled, I read a chapter entitled Crime in the U.S. Is it good or bad for the economy? It was in a book called Sociological Perspectives on Crime. The book was edited by Francis Smith. Remember, whenever there's a comma there, that means the names are reversed. And Alan Jackson and Gerald Krause. This particular chapter that I read was written by Francis Smith and Joseph Jones. So they didn't write the whole book, and these people edited the whole book. So it's important that I'm looking over here for a chapter in an edited book. It's number 22 in the section on APA references. It's the section 64B on page 563 in the APA Rules for Writers Guide. So I have this information. Now what I need to do is I need to take this information and put it in the format that APA wants it to be in. So here's the format. The author or authors of the chapter and its last name and then initials. We never used first names in APA. Followed by the year of publication in parentheses and a period. Followed by the title of the chapter. And you'll notice the title of the chapter, only the first word of the title is capitalized. If there is a subtitle, such as in ours, Crime in the U.S., colon, is it good or bad for the economy? This colon signals that is it good or bad for the economy is the subtitle. So the first word of the title and the first word of the subtitle are capitalized, and then of course any proper nouns. Following that, I say in, right? So it's in this book. It's this chapter in this book. So I say in. And here's where APA is a little funny. They reverse it. So here it's last name followed by first and middle initial. Here it's first and middle initial followed by last name to show that it's an editor as opposed to an author. So we list all of the editors. We have an ampersand before the last one. And then we tell the reader that it's editors. If it's only one editor, of course, we leave the S off. And then we tell the book title, and the book title is italicized with the same capitalization we saw here. The first word of the title, and this colon signals that this is the subtitle. Then we tell all of the pages of the chapter. So not just the 3 pages I got information from, but the whole chapter. Then the place of publication is the city, followed by the 2-digit postal code. It's always 2 capital letters, and you can look them up. You can just Google 2-digit postal code if you don't know. Followed by a colon and the name of the publisher. So that's what I've done. I've taken this information, I put it in that format. It's Smith F for Francis Smith, Jones J for Joseph Jones. 2008 is the year. The name of the chapter is Crime in the U.S. Of course, U.S. has to be capitalized because that signifies United States. And then only is capitalized. Is it good or bad for the economy? It's in F. Smith, Francis Smith, Alan Jackson, and J. Krause, right? So A. Jackson, ampersand, J. Krause. They're the editors. followed by the comma. Then I have the title of the book, it's Sociological Perspectives on Crime, and all of the pages for that chapter. So that chapter is 40 some odd pages, right? Boston is the city, and MA is the 2-digit postal code for Massachusetts. When I got the original information, it just said Boston. But Boston is a very common place where things are published, and so we know that's Boston, Massachusetts. And then the publisher is Allen and Bacon right here. Publisher is Allen and Bacon. And that's it. Now, also, it needs to be hanging indent. If you put your cursor right here, I'll do it on this one, and you hold down the control key and you hit the letter T, it will hang it for you, okay? Now, if you hang something by accident and you need to fix it, you have to take this little guy back out here, okay? You can't like undo T. I guess you could hit undo. So that's that one. Then I have some information, and this one is a journal. It's the American Sociological Review, and it's a journal. So now I have to go to a journal, and that's number 7. It's in the same section. We're still in 64B, but now we're on page 559, number 7. It's a journal, and it's the same sort of a thing. Last name followed by first initials, year, the article title, same capitalization rules, the journal title. Now the entire or all the major words of a journal are capitalized. You can see this next one is National Geographic, and those are capitalized. The volume and the title of the journal are both italicized. Here is a volume number that's italicized, but an issue number is not. Okay, then that's followed by the page numbers. This document number is really not required unless you don't have all the print information. So I have the author, the year, the title, the journal, the volume, and the page. I just need those 6 things. If I have those 6 things, I can leave the document number off. So I've done the same thing over here with this Sarah Springley and George Bottoms. Put it in APA format. You notice I have a little odd thing right here. I have an A, and then on the next one I have a B, because this reference by Springley and Bottoms in 2006, I wouldn't be able to distinguish that one from this one by Springley and Bottoms in 2006. So I have to use the rule for 2 or more works by the same author in the same year. This is in section 64A, number 9. Okay. Now, how do I decide which gets A and which gets B? A is the first one I encounter in my paper. B is the second one I encounter in my paper. So let's say I talked a little bit about one of them, that would be A. Then I talked about the other one, that would be B. Then I talked about B 3 more times. Then I talked about A again. They still retain that A and B. Okay, so just whatever one you talked about first gets the A, and the second one gets the B. All right, let's go down here to this next one. Now, the reason I have books, you might have a book. I don't know. Books are always not that great, but you certainly will have a chapter in a book. Since you have to use the textbook for this class, any chapter that you use, and you all need to use the chapter that goes along with your social problem. You signed up by chapters. So cite that individual chapter as a chapter in an edited book. If you use the chapter that has the major perspectives, or if you use another chapter, because a lot of chapters sort of build on each other, if you've noticed. Cite each one of those individually as a chapter in an edited book. And the author for this particular book, our social problems book, is an anonymous author. So if you look over here in that same section, 64A, right after number 6, there's a note, and it tells you if the author is stated as anonymous, as it is for our class textbook, then you're going to pretend that the author's name is anonymous. You'd use anonymous, and there'd be no initials in the reference list. So it'd be just anonymous in the year. Okay, so the last one here is a web page. You might have some web pages. This is actually an online newsletter. So if you look in online sources, which is here in section 64B, page 565, it starts right here at the end, and it just continues with online journals, online magazines, online newspapers. Now, don't be confused with this online journal. If you look up articles in the library database, that is not an online journal. That's a print source that you're just accessing through our databases. It's not a website. It's not online. It's not considered online. So if you keep scrolling down for a ways, you will find here's a section in a web document, a short work from a website, and you have to decide what it is. So article in an online newsletter, and I happen to know that this is an article in an online newsletter. So that's the one I'm going to use, and it has, in this case, in the APA guide, it's showing you how it looks if there was no author. When there's no author, we take the title and we move it over here to the left of the date in the author's position. But we have authors, okay? So we have Higgins, Barnhouse, and Gonzalez. We don't have a date though, and so there's an APA that tells you what to do with no date, but it's basically N period, D period. And the title of my little article in this newsletter is Crime in the U.S. It was retrieved from this website. Whenever we have retrieved, we don't tell the date it was retrieved on. MLA does that. We don't do that in APA. And we give the entire website, including the HTTP. Okay? So then I've taken all of those sources and I made a reference list. We title it references, and that's centered, and then of course it's all hanging indent. These are alphabetized. I do not re-alphabetize authors. Springley gets to go first because Springley did more work than Bottoms. Smith gets to go first because Smith did more work than Jones. Higgins goes first because Higgins did more work than Barnhouse, who did more work than Gonzalez. So we never reordered these ever under any conditions, but we do alphabetize them based on the author's name. Now, let's say this was Springley and Bottoms, and then we had another one that was Springley and Bottoms and Marenko. Springley and Bottoms, and nothing would go before Springley and Bottoms and Marenko. Okay, that would also change even if they were both 2006. I'd have Marenko in here to distinguish which they were, and I would not use A and B. So that's what my reference list looks like. Now let's take a look at what it looks like in text. Do not bold these. I've bolded these to show you. So I might say something like, according to Higgins, Barnhouse, and Gonzalez, no date, this is about crime, right? Or whatever it is. Furthermore, blah, 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 blah. And then in parentheses, I can say Higgins et al. Now, the first time I cite a source with 3 or more authors, I'm going to list them all. And that's in here under in-text citations. Work with two authors, work with 3 to 5 authors. So it's in 64A. Work with 6 or more, work with unknown authors. So all these things. There's the anonymous again. So the first time I have Higgins, Barnhouse, and Gonzalez. Every other time from now until the end of my paper, it's just Higgins et al. Et al. Is a Latin term that means and others. So I could say this is also found by Springley and Bottoms in their study of prisoners what happened to the prisoners, whatever it says, right? Additionally, blah, 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 blah. Now, maybe in this section, I've incorporated information from the Smith and Jones article and from both of the Springley and Bottoms articles. I would list them in the order I will find them in the reference list. Again, you're not bolding these. Every source that you cite in your paper is listed in your reference list. Every source that's listed in your reference list is cited in your paper at least once. So take a look through here. There's a lot of useful information in this guide. And again, it's just the one chapter. I think it's 66 pages. So it's not meant for you to read it, but take a look and get familiar with it. If you don't have a way to highlight and bookmark as I do, I would most definitely print it. I also have it in print to take to my face-to-face classes, but I would definitely print it, put little flags on the pages, highlight things so that you can find things very, very quickly when you need them. All right, if you have any questions, contact the TLC or me.